I never thought a Tuesday night could unravel my entire understanding of power. But that's the thing about moments like this. They don't announce themselves. They don't knock. They just walk in, sit down across from you, and dare you to react. And yeah, looking back now, it almost sounds unreal, but every word of this happened, and it started because someone decided I didn't belong where I was sitting. I had just clocked out of the courthouse after one of those days that drains you without warning. Nothing dramatic on paper, just hours of arguments, objections, and people talking past each other instead of listening. I didn't want company. I didn't want noise. I wanted one quiet meal before heading home. So I stopped by a small, upscale bistro near the waterfront, the kind of place where the lights are low, the menus don't list prices, and people talk softly like they're afraid of being overheard. I was sitting alone at a corner table, scrolling mindlessly on my phone, wearing a dark coat I'd owned for years. It wasn't flashy, but it was well made, the kind of thing you buy once and keep forever. It had been a gift from my mother after my first major promotion, and every time I wore it, it reminded me I'd earned my place even when the world tried to convince me otherwise. That's when I noticed him. He didn't walk in quietly. He never does, guys like him. Boots, heavy voice, already loud, badge catching the light like it wanted attention. Officer Grant Wallace. I didn't know his name then, but I knew the type immediately. Chest out, chin high, scanning the room not for danger but for someone smaller, someone easier. His eyes skipped over businessmen, couples, tourists, and landed right on me. He stared a second too long. I felt it in my gut before he even moved. You know that feeling when something's about to go wrong and you don't know why yet, yeah? That one. He walked straight to my table, no hesitation. "Ma'am," he said, but there was no respect in it, just a challenge. "Mind telling me what you're doing here?" I blinked. Eating dinner, I replied, calm, even friendly. He smirked. "This isn't exactly a casual spot." I noticed, I said, glancing at the menu. "That's why I chose it." A couple nearby went quiet. You could feel the shift. He leaned closer, lowering his voice like that made it reasonable. "We've had reports of theft in the area. Credit card fraud. I'm going to need to see some ID." I looked around the room. "Are you checking everyone I asked, or just me?" His jaw tightened. He didn't like that. "Don't get smart. You fit the description." What description? A person spending money that doesn't look like they earned it. There it was, clean, clear, ugly. I told him no, that I hadn't done anything wrong, that he was interrupting my meal. I wasn't loud. I wasn't emotional. I just set a boundary. And that's when his hand brushed my coat still draped over the back of my chair. "That's a nice piece," he said. "Must have cost a fortune." I stood up slowly. "Please don't touch my things." That's when it escalated. Fast. He grabbed the coat hard, yanking it toward him. Instinct kicked in and I grabbed it back. The sound of fabric tearing cut through the restaurant like glass shattering. People gasped. Someone swore under their breath. The coat tore clean down the seam, the lining exposed, ruined. He laughed, actually laughed. "Looks like stolen property to me," he said, tossing it on the floor. "You're coming with me." Before I could react, the cuffs were on. Too tight. Deliberately tight. My wrists burned. Someone shouted that he couldn't do that. Another person pulled out their phone. Grant snapped at them to back off, hand hovering near his belt like he wanted an excuse. He marched me outside into the cold air rain starting to fall, pressed me against the hood of his cruiser. "Not so confident now, huh?" he whispered. "I'll book you under a fake name. Let you sit all night. You'll learn." I said nothing. I didn't need to. The holding room downtown was exactly what you'd expect. Cold bench, flickering light. People at the end of their rope. My phone, my bag, everything taken. No call, no explanation. Just time and silence. Grant came by hours later, coffee in hand, smug as ever. He leaned against the bars like we were old friends. "You ready to cooperate yet?" I looked up. "I'd like to speak to your supervisor." He laughed. "You really don't get it, do you? Nobody's coming." That's when I told him his badge number, his full name. The internal complaints he thought were buried. The overtime claims that didn't line up. The reason his name was already flagged in a quiet investigation he'd never heard about. His face drained of color. "Who are you?" he asked, suddenly unsure. I stood. I'm the person you should have walked away from, I said, and the person who's about to end your career. The doors opened less than 10 minutes later. Not with shouting, not with drama, just authority. Plainclothes agents, city officials. The shift in the room was instant. Grant tried to talk his way out of it, but nobody was listening anymore. The cuffs came off me and went on to him. He kept saying it was a misunderstanding, that he didn't know, that he was just doing his job. That excuse didn't work. The footage from the restaurant hit the internet by morning. The tearing, the laughter, the threats, millions of views. His department went silent. His union stepped back. Friends disappeared. And suddenly the man who'd never been questioned was answering a lot of them. At the preliminary hearing, there weren't many judges available. Emergency schedule. Conflicts everywhere. I was there, not in my role as the woman he humiliated, but as a professional doing exactly what the law required. And when the prosecutor laid out the facts, the risk, the pattern, I denied bail. Not because of anger, because of safety. Months later at sentencing, the courtroom was packed with people he'd hurt, people he thought didn't matter. I listened as he apologized carefully, vaguely, still trying to sound like the victim of bad luck instead of bad choices. When I spoke, I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. I talked about dignity, about how power reveals who you really are, about how tearing someone down doesn't make you taller, it just exposes the rot underneath. He was sentenced to decades. Years passed. Life moved on. One afternoon, outside that same bistro, the manager approached me with a box. Inside was my coat restored. The tiara repaired, not hidden, reinforced with a subtle line of gold thread. Stronger than before. I put it on and smiled, because this story was never really about a coat. It was about assumptions, about who gets questioned and who doesn't, about what happens when someone finally says no. So, what do you think? Did justice do its job, or did it go too far? Have you ever been judged before anyone knew your story? Let me know in the comments. I read them. And if you believe stories like this matter, hit like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs the reminder that dignity isn't given, it's claimed.